Hello YouTube, Josh with the Alpha and Omega Survival School here today, and today we are going to be talking about wild edibles. Alright guys, so today basically I want to talk to you about edibles that you can find right in your own backyard. Now just at a first glance, this obviously just looks like your average backyard, not a whole lot going on, but we're going to take some closer snapshots and get down to what is really contained within this grass and weeds. First thing, almost off the bat, we've got white clover. Now white clover is not native to North America. It's actually a European plant. It has a lot of good uses though. For instance, the leaves of the white clover, that's these right here, can be used in a tea to prevent colds, coughs, especially whooping cough, stuff like that. The flowers, you can see here, the white flowers, can also be made into a tea, and they can be used to relieve rheumatism and gout. Now when you're looking at clover flowers, whether it be red or white, you always want to find good, fresh, healthy flowers like this one. If you have some that look wilted, such as, let's see if I can find one, say that one right there, that is not good for you. Now, when you're looking at specifically at red clovers, they have effects similar to the chemical found in women known as estrogen. I'm sure you've heard of it before. They also have good properties in blood thinning. You may ask why. It reduces blood clots, and actually red clover, now remember going back to what I said about finding fresh ones and not using wilted ones. That is how the blood thinner Coumadin was discovered. You had a herd of cows out in the pasture, and all but a few died. Come to find out they were all bleeding internally from eating wilted, rotting clover. This was killing them from the inside out, basically. So always be sure you have fresh clover leaves. So as we move along here, now while these are not wild, you can find wild roses. I figured I would add these in. Rose petals actually have properties that work good on the skin, and they don't taste half bad either. You can dry them out, and they actually do have a slight sweet taste to them. Now if you have roses in your yard and you spray them, or your parents spray them for bugs, do not use them, for the chemicals will harm you. However, if you've heard of rose water or rose oil, that's where it comes from. Little known fact is apple buds, or the flowers you see before you have apple blossoms, are actually a type of rose, and they can be used similarly. Another, of course, obviously not wild, but can be found in the wild plant, is the blueberry bush. Now here we have some blossoms beginning to form. Got some small berries beginning to form. They won't be ready for another month and a half or so. But these are also a very good tasting and nutritious part of any wild edible diet. Like I said, these are in the yard, but can be found, and if you can find these, they are a tasty treat. Obviously a good plant worth mentioning. Alright, here's another good one, the pine tree. Any type of pine has a lot of uses. More than just edible uses, in fact. The heartwood of a pine tree contains turpentine, which is an excellent fire starter. The inner bark, and I'm not going to chip off any here, but the inner bark is edible. It is edible, however, that would be a last resort food. Even the deer don't turn to bark until they are out of other choices. Pine cones, which we are beginning to see a few open up. And a few drop off here. I don't know if they've dropped their seeds yet or not. Let's see. These few have begun to drop their seeds. What you can do is, before they start to open up, is pick some, throw them in a brown paper bag. This will cause them to open up and release their seeds, and the seeds are edible. However, be warned, the seeds do taste like turpentine. It's not a horrible flavor, but it's not the best. But when you need a quick boost, anything will suffice. Of course, the pine needles can also be used. You can crush them up and put them in tea, and they are an excellent source of vitamin C. In fact, the early settlers would use pine and other evergreens high in vitamin C in order to prevent scurvy. That's the pine tree. Coming away from the pines, you look down here. It's a little bit later in the spring, but we have some dandelion leaves here. Dandelion is good in salads, as are the yellow flowers. Late in the summer, I wouldn't recommend eating dandelion, as the leaves can become quite bitter. However, early on in the season, they are actually quite tender and not too bad tasting. Alright, coming down to the ground here, we have some yellow wood sorrel. I was trying to make part of this video earlier and my phone flashed a not enough storage message. Anyways, this is in the oxalis family, as is spinach, containing oxalic acid, which gives this plant a lemony flavor, especially when you get some with some leaves and some of the flowers. So here's a close-up. There you go. This is actually the plant that is believed to have been the start of the shamrock. If you look closely at the leaves, you'll notice they have a heart-shaped leaflet, whereas clover, which a lot of people believe is the shamrock, does not. Interesting. So, this does have a nice lemony flavor to it. Don't sit around all day eating this. It will cause the calcium in your bones to leach out. So, I'm going to give this a sample. It's pretty good. Good stuff. Has a nice, refreshing, lemony taste. If you haven't tried it, I would highly recommend trying it. Don't freak out about the bones and the calcium leaching out. If you were to sit around eating spinach all day, it would do the same exact thing. Here's another awesome little plant. This is plantain. You can tell by the long stalks here coming off of it. Leaves are edible. Identification, when you pick them, has long veins running the length of the leaf, and it has small little strings that come out of the base of the leaf there. These are amazingly nutritious, and you can chew them up, place them on a wound, and bandage it, and it will quicken the healing process. Awesome little plant. Found almost anywhere weeds grow. The weeping willow is next on our list. Surprisingly useful little tree. Not native to America, actually native to China. The American willow does not have weeping branches, where this tree gets its name. You can take the tender bark off of the smaller limbs and where it connects at the tree. And if you have a headache, just boil that bark in some water. It has the same characteristics as aspirin. It actually is the same thing as aspirin. And then you drink the tea, and your headache will disappear. Willow tree, awesome to look at, amazingly useful. Like I was saying before, here we have the broadleaf version of the plantain. The other one was the American version. You can see something's been eating this. Probably rabbits. They have a good sense for nutrition. Same idea as the other one. Very nutritious, very medicinally useful. Here we have a very yummy treat, if you can manage to find them. These are called fox grapes. They're a wild form of grape that grows entangled in the trees. Very yummy when ripe. They usually ripen in the fall. Maybe we'll come back in the fall and take a look and have a taste. If we can get to them before the birds do, that is. All of these leaves right here that you see are grapes. Here we have some cattails coming up. The shoots taste like cucumber, and the roots or rhizomes taste like mashed potatoes, if baked or thrown in the fire for about 10 minutes. These are probably one of my favorite plants to eat. However, on the edge of this field, I do not eat these, as the runoff can actually do some pretty horrible things to your body. So if you live next to an agriculture area, do not eat the ones you find in those ditches. I'd like to thank you guys for joining me here today, looking at the wild edibles that you can find in your backyard. I'd like to remind you to check out today's Bible verse that goes along with this video in the description box. I'll go ahead and read it out. Today is Genesis 1:30. And to all the beasts of the earth, and all the birds in the sky, and all the creatures that move along the ground, everything that has the breath of life in it, I give every green plant for food. And it was so. If you like what's going on here, please like and subscribe, tell your friends, and have a great day. Thanks, guys.